Hello people of WorILL or impossible level goers in general. Today I will be showing how to create a generic impossible level, stuff like joke submission and mute evasion and all that. So far, all that I've done in the level is lay out the gameplay and speed changes, which appear randomly. I have a few boilerplate triggers over here, like invisible and half opacity and background effects, and I have set up the song and changed the background, and that's all for now. So the first part here is a cube section, and the first thing I think I'm going to get out of the way is creating very normal jumps. These are very difficult jumps for big sized cube, and these are very difficult jumps for small sized cube. Other than generic timings, the main other thing of impossible gameplay is random dynamic object spam with gaps that look like this, or like this, or if you're mini, like that. So this is a section of normal gameplay that I've just made. Structuring really doesn't matter. I'll go over how to quote-unquote decorate impossible levels in a bit. But basically, the main part of this is that there are a lot of orbs, so there's a lot of timings, so there's a lot of hard timings. I'm not going to go over how to actually macro buff stuff, so I just recommend like shifting all these down by one and hoping it works. But for dash orbs like this, there is a very specific thing that can be used, which is these. So to make these things, I'd recommend saving these as a custom object. This works for dash orbs and straight fly. Basically, you just take one of these spikes and then move it 4 inwards. And yeah, this is a very normal section of gameplay. I'm actually going to move these two things back because I don't want this level to be weird to decorate when I get to that. So to actually transition from this part to the previous, it's sort of essential to go up in height. And to do that, you could just put an orb and go like that, I guess. Which is fine, but a much better way to do it is to copy and paste 2 green orbs on top of each other. Now it's sort of force a double click. Now that there's this little area, I'm going to just put a dash orb like that, and then probably that, and then like that. That is probably the hardest set of inputs in this entire level without it being macro buffed. And yeah, that's this section of gameplay done, and I'm just gonna like make the rest of this in a time lapse, and then I'm going to get to this blue portal and then make a cube maze. So now I am here, and it's time to get into a cube maze. The proper sort of orientation is 3 blocks and 2 blocks, so you get sort of this sort of staircase-like structure. Now then, on each of these blocks, we're just going to put a spike because difficulty, I guess. And now then, all I'm going to do is copy and paste this a bunch until there's a ship part, which will be only a tad bit more interesting. Now then, for cube mazes, there are a few ways to make it actually a maze. You could use toggle orbs, you could use counting with like coin pickups and whatnot, but probably the way that I'm going to do it is just with toggle orbs. So over here, I'm going to have a saw on the next free group, and then I'm going to go over here and toggle that off. Now, that saw blade does not exist. Now on each of these platforms, I'm going to put a toggle trigger, set that to 5, activate group and touch triggered. And now, if I ever go a wrong way, it will reactivate the saw and it will become impossible. Oh no, I touched a toggle trigger and now I'm dead. How unfortunate. Okay, it's time to talk about straight flies. For each category of the ship, small and big, there are two types of gaps. There's the 1-block center gaps and the 2-block center gaps. For big ship, it's really easy. You just use those +4s from earlier for the 1-block center, and these small spikes for the 2-block center. Of course, if you want to get really fancy, you can go like this. I think this is the gap. It's either that or this. It's one of these two. This is the gap from Limits by Pink Maker, and it is the hardest on-grid straight fly that can be made. As you can see here, this spike is a pixel taller than this spike. And yeah, that's a very large bush. But of course, I don't really want to go over really finicky hitboxes because that's probably over 15 clicks a second, which you have to be keeping in mind this entire time. Yes, 15 clicks per second. Now then, because we're immediately going into a 2-block thing, I'm gonna put this and the first club step monster of the level. Okay, so for mini ship 2-block centers, it's weird, to say the least. So the ship can fit through that, just 2 spikes like that. That works for some reason. This is not a very easy gap to fit into an actual level. This structure is really weird. This structure is really weird. And this, I don't even know if this can be classified as a structure at all. I don't really know how to use those well, so I'm just gonna turn this into a 1-block center instead. So to make good straight fly for 1-block centers here, you're going to take these and then go up by 7. Behold, the +7 gap, and yeah, that is slightly comical how much more tight it is. The hitboxes aren't even touching! Now, for these 2 structures, I'm going to do something a bit more fancy and curve them slightly. I know that this works with the 2-block centers, and I'm not sure if this works with the +4s. Oh no, there's such a large gap between these two. However, will I get between them? Well, that's where the very cool dash orb comes in. These things are the fastest way to get momentum in the game. Here I'm running at half-time speed. And then, oh my, I already went so far down, but I'm in half speed. How is that possible? Yeah, dash orbs are really good. Now it's time to get into something you've probably all been waiting for, the minus wave, which is the hardest gameplay type. Okay, so 2-player mode is a thing that exists. All I'm gonna say is that it makes your levels a lot harder to play test, but it makes them a lot harder on the list as well. I'm going to be using it. For your first time making a generic impossible level, I would recommend not doing this and just following along with these steps and ignoring the first blue pad that I placed down. That first blue pad is going to be like this. Because dual waves spawn with opposite gravity, this blue pad will make them have the same gravity, so it's just a lot easier to do. What the heck, that works in the editor? That worked? What? I had no idea that that worked in the editor. Okay, minus waves. This is going to get very boring very fast. Basically, this is the gap that you use, and that is also the gap that you use. There you go. But to actually make these and to actually set them out, it's a bit more interesting. Basically, you're gonna go like that, and this is gonna be on layer 0. So on layer 0, you have this. This is gonna be your actual structuring thing. And then on this layer, you're gonna go right here, and now it's spiky. This is the same thing that I did in Palace and WWW, and I did not add in the extra spikes because I was holding back. But anyways, if I just remove these two, you can see there is a wonderful red line there. This red line is not all that consequential in big wave parts, but in mini wave it gets really annoying. So now then, I'm going to go back onto layer 1. I'm going to try it with this spike first. Never mind. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try it with, no. I'm going to try it with this spike. Rotate that 45, and then I'm going to move it like that. So now it is above that part, and there are two sort of bits going off the side. I'm going to flip that around and then move it. So just like that, that happens. Now then, to actually move these in, if I go 2 arrows in each direction, I'm going to set bypass to 600 just because why not? And there you go, that is a pretty difficult gap right there. Of course, if you want to go and test on stuff like 1,000 and on, feel free to do that, but this is just the gap that I'm going to be using. So now I'm going to link this entire thing and then copy and paste it everywhere. Yup. This will be the next portion of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in 30 minutes when this is done. And now then, I'm going to stop the wave part here because when it transitions into the cube, the hitbox gets a lot bigger. So it'll actually interact with these spikes and the spike slopes. Now then, I'm just going to set that. And also, because 2-player mode is really buggy, you should place a blue gravity portal there because sometimes, most of the times, every time, it'll flip your gravity when going into a cube portal. So this is the little thing that I have set up here. I should probably add more structures here, but I'm not going to just because ground spike demonstration. Now for mini waves, oh goodness, this is about to get really finicky. So there's something you should know about called the scroll speed bug. I'm not gonna get into it, but basically it makes mini wave parts wacky, and that's all I'm gonna say about it. So it's best to not put spikes into the slopes. So basically, I'm just going to take this and copy and paste it around. There's a bit of an unfortunate thing here where one of them is already 2 blocks away because you don't want to go right next to the ground spikes, and the other one is already 1 block away, so that does make it so it's a bit uneven. But I can sort of show how to fix that in a bit. Okay, so this is where I'm going to end off the structure for now, and then I'm just going to, just cap it off. And then I'm going to start a new structure, but since this is already 2 blocks away, I'm going to purposefully start this 1 block away. And that sort of fixes the issue of it always being up. Now it's going to always be down for a little while. If you want to, you can go here and add invisible stuff, but it's not really all that necessary if you already have this type of a wave part and a minus wave here. So yeah, just here I have finished this off and created a little auto part right into the final bit. Just want to quickly mention that I redid all of these speed changes to only use normal and slow speed because they're a lot easier to describe what's actually happening instead of a bunch of speed changes. So as for jumps for normal speed, this is for mini cube and this is for big cube, but keep in mind you will land on this block when a big cube. So now I'm going to talk about like generic cube spam. I'd recommend if you're using mini, make it 1 block. If you're doing it big size, make it 2 blocks. To make it like not go over the CPS limit, make sure that it isn't all that large. And then to sort of do fixed hitboxes, but in a better way, you can just shift all of these spikes over half a block, and then that makes it a lot more angry face. Now then, I have completed the layout. This last part is a lot easier, except for this jump, which I sort of stole from Minus Club, but we don't talk about that. This layout took me about 1 hour and 15 minutes in total, so hopefully you can make something in 2-ish hours with this. The level is only 1 minute and 6 seconds long, but I was able to fit in quite a bit of difficulty, most notably this really big minus wave here. I don't really know where it will place on WorILL, and I'm not going to submit it to the normal ILL because it's not a good level. But yeah, in part 2 I'm probably going to go about decorating this in traditional impossible level style, which is good lighting, bad everything else. So yeah, goodbye for now.